There is a moment when people begin to treat you differently. They pause before speaking. They hesitate before asking. They think before crossing a line, and you might wonder what changed. You did not become louder. You did not become aggressive. You did not demand respect. You simply set boundaries. And social psychology explains why boundaries quietly change how people see you. Most people believe respect comes from confidence or authority, but psychology shows something deeper. Respect comes from clarity. When people know where you stand, how far they can go, and what you will not tolerate, their behavior adjusts automatically. Not because they are afraid of you, but because the system changed. Before boundaries, many people interacted with you casually. They interrupted your time. They expected instant responses. They assumed emotional access, not because they wanted to hurt you, but because nothing stopped them. Human behavior expands until it meets resistance. When there is no resistance, expectations grow. And when expectations grow unchecked, respect slowly fades. This is why people often feel drained before they ever feel disrespected. Disrespect rarely arrives suddenly. It accumulates quietly. Social psychology explains that boundaries function as invisible structure. They organize social interactions the same way walls organize a room. Without walls, everything blends together. With walls, movement becomes intentional. When you first set boundaries, many people react emotionally. They say things like, "You changed," "You are colder than before," "You are being difficult." But these reactions are rarely about the boundary itself. They are about loss of convenience. Boundaries remove unspoken privileges. And when privileges disappear, entitlement reveals itself. Some people test your boundaries. They push slightly. They ignore them once. They wait to see if you will fold. This is not cruelty. It is calibration. Social psychology calls this boundary testing. People probe limits to understand whether the structure is real or temporary. If you collapse the boundary, the test teaches them nothing. If you hold it calmly, behavior recalibrates. This is why consistency matters more than explanation. When you explain boundaries too much, you invite negotiation. But boundaries are not negotiations. They are information. Once people realize the boundary is stable, something shifts. They slow down. They ask instead of assume. They become more deliberate. This is the beginning of respect. Respect does not come from fear. Fear creates avoidance. Respect creates adjustment. Notice the difference. People who fear you disappear. People who respect you adapt. Social psychology shows that respect emerges when autonomy is recognized. Autonomy means you choose how and when you engage, not others. Before boundaries, your availability was taken for granted. After boundaries, your presence became intentional. And intentional presence carries weight. This is why people listen more after you set boundaries, not because your voice got louder, but because access is no longer guaranteed. Scarcity changes perception, not artificially, naturally. Another change happens internally. Boundaries reduce resentment. Resentment forms when your needs are repeatedly ignored. Ignored needs turn into emotional exhaustion. Boundaries stop that cycle early. When resentment disappears, your energy changes. Your posture relaxes, your tone steadies, your reactions slow. People feel this shift even if they cannot explain it. Social psychology shows that emotional self-regulation increases perceived authority. People trust those who are not emotionally reactive. Boundaries protect regulation. This is why boundaries often feel uncomfortable at first. You are interrupting emotional patterns that once benefited others. Not always you. Some people accuse you of being selfish. This accusation often comes from those who relied on your lack of boundaries. Boundaries reveal who respected you and who used you. This realization can be painful. But clarity always is. Respect after boundaries does not come from confrontation. It comes from alignment. Your actions match your limits. Your words match your energy. Your presence matches your capacity. Alignment is powerful because it cannot be manipulated. When people sense alignment, they stop pushing. There is nothing to exploit. This is why manipulators struggle with boundaries. Manipulation relies on emotional access. Boundaries remove that access. Healthy people adapt to boundaries. They may feel surprised at first, but they adjust. They do not punish you for clarity. Unhealthy dynamics resist boundaries. They guilt you. They escalate. They withdraw. This is not a failure of boundaries. It is a filtering effect. Boundaries quietly reorganize your social environment without arguments, without ultimatums, without explanations. You may notice that your circle becomes smaller, but calmer. Respect does not require many people. It requires integrity. Another subtle change occurs. People stop oversharing with you. They stop unloading emotions onto you. They stop treating you like an emotional container. This is a sign of respect. They recognize that your space is not a dumping ground. Social psychology shows that people unconsciously assign roles: the listener, the fixer, the emotional absorber. Boundaries allow you to step out of these roles. When roles dissolve, relationships rebalance. You are no longer a resource. You are a participant. Respect grows from mutual responsibility, not sacrifice. Here is an important reframe. Boundaries do not push people away. They invite the right behavior closer. Those who stay after boundaries stay differently. They engage with more care, more awareness, more intention. Respect is quieter than approval. Approval is loud. Respect is subtle. You may receive fewer messages, but more meaningful ones. You may have fewer interactions, but more peaceful ones. Boundaries also free you from constant explanation. Once established, boundaries speak for you. You no longer need to defend rest. You no longer need to justify space. You no longer need to explain no. Your behavior becomes the message. Social psychology confirms this. Behavior shapes perception more than words ever could. This is why boundaries work even when they are silent. Final thought. People respect you after you set boundaries not because you changed who you are, but because you stopped abandoning yourself. And self-respect is always felt, even when it is never announced.